Most people don't go out with the idea that I can love anybody. They pay too much attention to the differences, what you believe, what I believe, what they over there do or don't do. But the truth is, you can love anyone. And I submit to you that the main reason people don't find more people objects of their love is because they don't know their stories. Most people are aware of how difficult their own life has been, or are aware of the struggles they've faced, or the obstacles that have been in their path that have separated them from their goals. Nearly everyone is aware of that because the ego really keeps good track. But they look out and they see other people, and perhaps it appears to them as if these others don't have problems like I have. They haven't hurt like I have hurt, or they haven't been held back the way I have been held back. But of course, this is just something that the mind makes up because it doesn't know. Yet, what I find is that when people really listen to each other's stories, love always arises. Because frankly, my dear friends, it's not easy being human. And I think in the modern world today, it's particularly not easy. You are bombarded with so many diversions, with so many potential acquisitions, so much to take your mind off what you really came to do. And so as you negotiate your path into the Aquarian age, choose love. Allow yourself to fall upon the threshing floor in love's threshing room. Allow yourself to be molded. Actually, yes, ground, cleansed. Love will do that. Now, granted, the love that flows between two people, the I and the you, may not do that quite so fully, but it will do it. If you want to stay in a functional relationship, you have to look at your own negative patterns, your own shortcomings. If you really, truly want to express your love, you have to look at all the things within you that hold you back. And frankly, you all have things that hold you back. That's not a criticism. But you see, each of you comes to every relationship you have bearing something that's pretty heavy. It's your, for lack of a better term, body of experiencing. And I can tell you, my dear friends, because I have seen it so often, that body of experiencing is filled with excruciating pain. Now, loving does not mean giving into the pain and just wallowing in it, nor does it mean going to a hopeless place. My pain is so big and so harsh and so whatever that I cannot come out of the darker areas of my mind. There is a temptation, I think, when you see the vastness of suffering, to maybe cave or collapse to it a little bit, particularly if you're looking at the field of suffering out there through the spectacles of your own pain. However, if you look far enough, you will see that your own pain is very small in comparison to the great suffering that has humanity in its grips. And not only humanity. Do you think the animals do not suffer? Indeed, many suffer at the hands of humans who could be protecting them, loving them, and helping them realize what is possible for them in their lives. And my dear friends, that's true even of the little earthworms and the insects that most of you don't pay any attention to at all. You don't really see them as living beings with a spiritual path because they can't tell you what their spiritual path is, if they could even use that terminology. You simply do not see it. But remember this, love is one thing. And it is that one thing, is in everything. Plants, animals, the mineral kingdom, and certainly the starry kingdom or universe. So what I want to challenge you to do as you go forward is to look for love. It's very easy to see all the situations where there appears to be no love, and you're all very good at finding those places. It's a little harder to look behind all of the facade of power, might, taking over. I can take this from you if I'm strong enough. That's all a facade. It's the mask one who is insecure wears, because they're not truly open to love, nor are they able to allow themselves to be the representative that love is asking of them right now. So I know, particularly those of you living in the United States and seeing all the chaos that's going on, and seeing all the ways in which people make each other wrong that probably aren't necessary. You know, life's hard enough when everything's going well. So I encourage you, don't add to it by complicating everything through your judgment. And I know I have some students say, well, if I don't judge, then everything is okay. No, look, friends, you have to understand that you are not unidimensional people. You must deal with the realm of the changing. That's where all the chaos is. But you must also be rooted in the ground of being, which is utterly changeless and is totally love. So it isn't either or. It's both and. And I know this is difficult for people to understand. I remember one of the last questions we had in the Matter of Mind course was a student asking about, well, you say we're supposed to love people, even people who break the law. But if we love them, we wouldn't punish them. And we just let them continue. Well, believe me, my dear friends, that idea never came from me. And I don't know of any spiritual teacher that really espouses that. There are times in your spiritual journey when you have to let go of everything. And you have to let things be just as they are. Otherwise, you cannot go deep enough to really get into the changeless and take up rootedness there. You have to let it go. But then there are times when you must engage because you're here. You're here at a very powerful time when everything is in flux and change. And nobody really knows what it's going to look like here 10 years from now or 100 years from now as we really move into the Aquarian age. But when you just think of Aquarian energy, which translates in many ways to seventh ray energy. Now it's more than that, but that is the energetic basis, let's say, for the Aquarian age. It's an energy of transformation. And that means it's mightily engaged in the realm of the changing. I mean, how would you know transformation if nothing changed? So you must engage with it, just as you must be rooted and grounded into the changeless, because that is where you contact, or let's say you make contact with, but then you can learn to embody this oceanic love. It's not just a concept. You know, although I think most people maybe get to it by conceptual means at first, and that's all right. But there will come a time when you need to let that mind rest. You know, one of the things that's so interesting for people is it's difficult for some to really grasp the difference between mind and consciousness. Mind is an artifact. of consciousness. Both are aware, but they're aware in different ways. Mind is anchored into the ego. And the way mind works is to grasp onto things and then try to make everything else conform to whatever mind has grasped to. But with consciousness, there's no grasping. There is simply being awake and aware. And this is why in the last few meditations that I've given you, I ask you to find your awareness and put your attention on attention itself. Because when you do that, there's no need to change anything. Nothing is missing, nothing is lacking. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do. You're in the changeless, just awake and aware. I've recently referred to this state as open awareness. But there's no way you will awaken or realize your enlightenment if you don't know this place, this use of awareness. But through awakened awareness, through open awareness, you can just allow love to pour through you. You can allow life to pour through you. And you don't have to control it. You don't have to make things happen. And you, most of all, hopefully, you will learn to give up struggling. You see, that only happens, struggle only happens up there on the surface in the realm of the changing. We might say there's stratas in the realm of the changing. There's sort of the changes that just go on from day to day. Like, you'll go through certain phases as you age. You're not the same person today you were when you were 5 years old or 15 or 55, some of you. So there's that kind of changing that's very predictable in some ways. Not all of it's predictable. But then there's that part that's really radical change, where everything is so confused and so crazy and seemingly so out of control that a person has to struggle, or so they think, to be a part of the changing. But I'm here to suggest that maybe that's not true. Maybe it's a false belief. Maybe it's just something you've taken as true because so many other people believe it is true. And those of you who have such a tendency to beat up on yourself all the time. And I know some of you think you would be a really bad person if you weren't beating up on yourself. And you actually think the beating up helps you be better. It doesn't really. It sets a pattern for more of the same. And as long as you're in that pattern, it's a repeating pattern. As long as you're in that pattern, you're never going to see your awakened self. Because the awakened self doesn't fit. It's too big, too vast. It doesn't fit into a contracted self that is always self-flagellating. Now, I know these are habits you've learned. Not everybody does it, but there's quite a few of you who do it at least some of the time. Then there are those who are not any more awakened, who go around blaming everybody else. For whatever's going on, it's not my fault, it's that person's fault. Not my fault, it's the system's fault. It's not my fault, it's the government's fault. Both are equally asleep. And into neither of these states of mind will enlightenment dawn. It cannot. So to get there, you must plumb the depths, period. You must turn loose of all that activity on the surface. And you must find your place within this oceanic love that is aware, it's conscious. It's what's managing everything. So you must tap that. And then you must also engage in the changing. I think when people really enter stillness, maybe for the first time, or maybe they just have a profound meditative experience where they really get into that deep stillness, where there's no separation of anything. They're just kind of one with the divine flow. They can recognize that that's the divine flow. And so they think, I have to go back there, I have to stay there, that's all there is. But that's not true. The source of all being, the divine, the supreme, whatever you call that great awareness, is much more than that. It is equally a part of the changing as it is the changeless. Now, most meditation teachers don't talk about this much. Some don't know it, others do. And yet those who have had profound experiences in meditation have frequently gone to a place that, those of you that have taken some of my workshops know it has a name, piti. It's a state of mind that is quite ecstatic. It's a highly energetic state. One is filled with this ebullience, you could say, or like they have it say it differently now. They say ebullience, don't they? Anyway, this flowing sense of ultimate joy. That too is the divine, but it's very energetic. And you see, what happens is that at the human level, people just confuse things. But when you think the organizations like the Sufis who have the universal dances of peace, where people are twirling and swirling. And I mean, they also brought forth the tradition of the whirling dervishes. That was meditation, but it's meditation in action. And it engages more the active side of the divine. But you see, humans have it, the ego likes that better, frankly. And so it tends to want to fix on it, to grab onto it, to cling to it. And so it, however it acts out then, it's a little bit unique person to person. But you see, when you really look at this, you think, well, the two sides of the source, if I can say it that way, that sounds very limiting, but it's like a coin that has two sides, different things on each side. They're different energies, different powers. And so if you're human, and you're living here on earth, you are to participate or partake of both sides of the divine, the active and the passive. But passive is not passive as most people think of the word. Most people think of the passiveness as not caring. Or sometimes when I ask people to be neutral, they say, oh, well, that means I won't care. No, it doesn't. Not in the way I'm using it. You can be very engaged, but still. So you could say we have the still side of the divine, which brings forth the changeless, and we have the active side of the divine, which manifests in the realm of the changing. One is not less a part of the divine than the other. But the part that most people really need is to anchor down, root themselves into the stillness, the changeless, and draw that energy up into their working on the surface or with the realm of the changing. Then you see, they will not be drawn off, or shall we say, gobbled up by all the craziness in the realm of the changing. Well, the truth is, whether we're speaking about the changing or the changeless, it's all love. And I encourage, indeed for some of you, I challenge you to go discover that. Don't let yourself off the hook and play small. Oh, I can never become enlightened. Oh, I don't, it's too hard for me. I just can't stay focused. And you get all of these limitations. And then one acts them out. So you see, we really want to be careful about those old belief systems that you really didn't amass through your own experiencing. Usually you pick them up from your culture or from your family or from whatever. No one is to blame for that. You picked it up. So I encourage you to go forward holding a new level of well, say calling yourself to a higher level in a new way. And that is no blame. No blame. That doesn't mean you accept everything as it is and do nothing. It means you just keep your frequency more rooted and grounded in the changeless. Think about it. If the divine were judging everything and blaming people or blaming maybe one planet for a problem in the universe or some solar system, I mean, think about it. It's ludicrous, isn't it? But often humans do it as a way of thinking it gives them power or strength to be the one that says everybody else is wrong. Some regard that as a type of power. But that's an illusion, isn't it? Someone asked me once about, we were talking about, the question came up, and this was in a class years ago, about the difference in love and hate. And were they opposites, I guess. That's the way people tend to think of things, isn't it? In terms of opposites. Polar, so that I can take up residence on one pole and maybe push against the other pole. You can learn from that. But there is a way that's different where you expand yourself so that within you, you include both poles. Then there's none to blame. There's nothing to blame. And I want you to learn to love yourselves, but in a higher way, not in an indulgent way. Oh, I love myself, so I'm just going to go spend all this money or engage in something frivolous. Frivolity is fine as long as you see it for what it is. It's not self-love. You may engage in frivolous activities because you're enjoying another person, or let's say you're playing with a pet. There's frivolity in that. It's not like your enlightenment depends upon how you play with your pet. Although you can look at the way you play with your pet and see whether you're doing it in an enlightened way or not. That's true. But you see that this other side of the source that we haven't talked about so much, that's very active, is very joyful. Now, in the traditions, in the Eastern traditions, when people spoke of nirvana, they really meant this kind of ultimate state of peace, where the mind was not troubled by anything, not even bursts of joyfulness from time to time. It was utterly anchored in the changeless. And the peace that is available there, when you tap that peace, you know it is love, because it fills you, it warms you, it has such an expansion effect upon your heart. But the truly joyful side of the source is the active side. It's the part that dances in the rain, if you're human. It's the part of, well, that really knows how to celebrate. It's kind of interesting because some of my students have an interesting time with the word celebrate because they're so busy being serious about their spiritual path. Or they think, okay, now I've got to go celebrate. And that's kind of contrived, isn't it? And so, but there is a celebration that's going on all the time. And a part of you needs to dip into that now and then. But also, there is this vast stillness that is the ultimate in meditation that is also going on all the time. And that's what I'm trying to help all of you dip into right now. It will change your lives. You will see yourselves differently. You will see the world differently if you tap into that utter peace and the kind of love that it is. And so as you go forward, I want you to challenge yourself. Don't let your minds off the hook when it goes into a blaming place. Notice, but turn loose of it. And there's a very interesting and easy way to do this. You just need some kind of little visual signal. So maybe you just see in front of you, you imagine a bar. And when you start blaming, in your mind's eye, you look down at the bar and you notice both hands are grabbing onto that bar. And on the bar between your hands, it says blame or blaming. And you notice you're clinging to that. And all you have to do is let it go. You will feel a shift in you immediately. What you have to do, you see, is remember to address it when it's there. Now, it's connected to, it's not just a mental thing or a thinking thing. It also draws from feelings, doesn't it? Because when there's an urge to blame someone, usually there's some kind of feeling going on as well. Maybe one is feeling not very powerful. And suddenly by blaming someone else, they have a greater sense of false power. It's not real power. When the mind wants to blame, turn loose of it, and then dip down into that stillness. At the bottom of the river, or of, let's say, the ocean of consciousness, there is a current that is utter and divine love, that is utterly peaceful, that has never clung to anything. In fact, it's incapable of it because it's pure consciousness. It's not the consciousness that has been conditioned by a grasping mind. I want this, I don't like that. So see, they're all attachments, you know. You're attached to your greed. I want. I like. But you're all equally attached to your aversions. I don't like that. Get away from here. In fact, I sometimes notice that there's this kind of affected state that some people use. You know, they're trying to be very positive in their own mental approach, and that's a good thing. But sometimes they get a little controlling with it. And they tell other people insensitive things like, well, you can't use that language around me, that's negative. Or don't come in here with your troubled thoughts. This is a positive zone only. Well, first of all, if a person has to talk about it in that way, there's probably something not quite right. But when one uses their notion of positive thoughts to make somebody else feel less than or wrong in some way, something has gone horribly wrong, because that's not partaking in positive thoughts. But if you just challenge your own mind that when it goes to blame, catch it and let it go. It doesn't mean you have to think that everything is okay or right. You don't. Indeed, your role in the realm of the changing is to try and set things right. Some of that comes from your own history, setting things right in your own history, your own stream of creative awareness. But then sometimes things go wrong in the social area as well. And it's not only it's your duty, your dharma, to set it right. And I know people sometimes go to that, well, how would I know? I can't know what's right. I shouldn't make these decisions for anybody else. You're not making decisions for anybody else. You see, the mind clings to one habit, and I see this in all of my students, some a lot more than others. Some have been working on it a while. But the mind wants to go to black and white thinking, so that something is either good or it's bad. If we love people, we won't punish them if they're criminals. But there's no room to work with that, is there? It's either or. And what you'll find is that when you really tap into the allowingness of the changeless, there's a capacity to be tolerant for all of it. It doesn't mean you don't try to change things. You do try to change things. But, you know, if you walk by someone and they're beating their dog, do something. You can say, wait, are you having a bad day? Or if you're afraid of the person, call animal control. Do something. Make a difference in the realm of the changing. If you see someone, let's say, breaking into a car, do something. You maybe just dial, 911 if you're in the States, which is the emergency number to get to the authorities. but do something. You are asked, indeed, it's your job, your duty, your dharma, to participate well in the realm of the changing. Why? So you can help raise the frequencies. Now, you see, when I speak to you like this, I sound very excited, a lot of energy. I'm coming to you from the active side of the divine. When I take you into a deep meditation, I'm coming to you from the changeless. And you too must learn to negotiate both realms. And these are the real poles that you are asked to hold the tension of the poles. When I say that, in the ultimate sense, this is what I'm talking about. It's two vibrant aspects of the divine. Your enlightenment you will find by knowing and embodying the changeless, because an enlightened or awakened mind is no longer mind. It participates in consciousness, so it doesn't change. Oh, you may change your ideas, but that's different. The mind itself is totally stable. To find that, you have to go into the depth. But to make a difference in the world, which you're all called to do, you have to put on a different frock, so to speak, a different garment. You don't change who you are. You don't turn loose of the connection you make in the depths. You just bring it with you to the surface. Because, my dear friends, so much work is needed right now on the surface, isn't it? Well, my goodness, I hope this has been helpful in the sense that it has given you some things to ponder, contemplate. Because when you contemplate deeply, you get out of mind and you get into consciousness. And so basically, this kind of bringing the two ends together, holding the tension of the opposites, you ultimately will find they are not opposing. They're both needed. Because this tension or this energy between them is what presents this tremendous field of possibilities. It's what makes the experiential realm of people on earth so big, so vast, so beautiful. So I want you to play with these knowledges and allow yourself to move back and forth among these two realms, these two aspects of the divine, and call them both your own. No, there are times when you need to do things that require action. And there are other times when you need to just sit still and be quiet. And beyond that, go deeper. But you see, the human consciousness is geared so that it can do both. And those of you for whom it is easier to move into the ecstasy of the active, do it. You know, if you can go outside and be filled with the exquisite beauty of earth and allow your heart to open in ecstasy, to dance with the divine in that level, do it. Others of you will have other proclivities where maybe you're a little bit inhibited or something, or who knows what. People have different things going on in their minds. If you look at these two aspects of the divine, it's kind of like, well, at the level of the personality, it might be something as simple as manifesting either as introvert or extrovert. Because psychologists who study these two different preferences, and they're preferences, they're not realities for anyone. But they recognize that the genius of the introvert is depth. Psychologists said that, not me. And they realize that the genius of the extrovert is breadth. Now, I totally agree with that, it is. And yet you are all of it. And if you look at, let's say, maybe at a distortional level, sometimes people have a mental condition that's called bipolar disorder. And at some level although it's not a clear level, it's a distortional level. What they're trying to do is sort of tap both ends of the spectrum here. So when they're in the manic phase, they have way too much energy and they maybe never sleep and they do all kinds of kind of crazy things, or maybe go out and spend a whole lot of money that they can't afford. Then when they go into the depressive state, they're very soft, they're quiet, but they're hurting. It's not neither one is really enjoying that side of the source. It's a distortional look at these two sides. So when you begin to look at reality, you will see the divine is there in all ways, in all manners, in all corners of reality. So your job is to find it. And know this: every time you blame another person, you're blaming the divine. Every time you judge someone, you're judging the divine. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to change things. If you see someone doing something that's really hurting them or another being, you should do something.